What is up? We Don't Know Sports Nation. Now is the time that we ask fans all across the world to take off the filter, rip off the Band-Aid, and tell everyone exactly what is on their mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for No Filter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we went through the bowels of the internet. We found our 49er insider. He's from parts unknown. I don't know where that is exactly, but is in a dark, dimly lit place right now. We see he got his Niners hoodie on right now, like he's about to be tucked in at night. But he's sleeping well because the Niners have survived and advanced. Ashley Harper joins the show. Ashley, how's it going, brother?
Man, better than ever, other than COVID.
So you have COVID right now?
Yeah, I've had it for a couple of days. I think I'm on the downslope to normalcy. So,
man, we Don't Know Sports had a whole COVID onslaught over the past month. All of us have had it for essentially, I think. I think you kind of survived, but your household had it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, is that a 49ers onesie you're wearing?
I bet it's got the footage in it.
All day long. I was
Wait,
say, yeah,
does it have
I'm
the...
like a gold miner and a 49er fan, but yeah, it's full on.
All right, turn around. We want to see the butt flap.
Oh, no.
I've got Velcro.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Velcro butt dump.
Okay, that's good. So you're ready for all situations.
Yeah. My and our winning percentage when I wear the onesie is higher than Jimmy Garoppolo's win percentage as a Niner starter, and that's strong.
Okay, so you're keeping track of the important statistics. That's fantastic to know. So let's jump right into it. So you're going up against the Rams, and remind all our listeners, what is the Niners record against the Rams this year?
That would be 2-0.
Right, so it's incredibly difficult to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. So tell me why it's about to happen.
Well, primarily for the biggest reason, we're the hottest team in the NFL right now. We've persevered with our backs up against the wall continually. The last time we did beat the Rams, I mean, with all due respect, they had us beat at one point 17-0. We barely scraped out a field goal before halftime. They're obviously a very powerful team. They've got a lot of star athletes, but that intangible that they do not have is the spirit of our team. Obviously, we felt, I mean, within inches close of beating the Chiefs 2 years ago. And I think the core of that team, mostly they're all together, but we have had a lot of new additions, and that's what's put them where they're at. But it's that drive, it's the spirit of the team, and I really think the Rams, we know their number. And as soon as we get Jalen Ramsey going cuckoo in the middle of that game, it's lights out.
So for that to be the case, does Debo need to be more successful in the air or on the ground in this game?
I would say it's always going to be a combination of both. The awesome thing is their coach does such a blended play calls special. Debo is also an excellent blocker. He can throw blocks that lead to scores. We don't care how we get the points, whether it's that or if it's Robbie Gould kicking 9 field goals. We just want to win the ball game. But I'd say it'll be a combination of both, obviously. I mean, the last time he played the Rams, he looked like Superman. Threw a touchdown pass that day, probably threw more, he was equal to as many touchdowns as Aaron Rodgers threw last week. Which was, well, it was
you had to throw that
actually threw more.
Hey, so I got a question for you. Obviously, my rooting interests are over with. My Raiders lost to his Bengals, so you both still have something to cheer here for on the upcoming weekend. But I would say this from outside perspective that the 49ers are the biggest wild card team going into this weekend. And I say that because you look at the other teams and you feel like you could strategize against them on paper, but you guys show up every single week. You put it together a different way. You really don't know how they're going to beat you. So to me, I was telling Chad last week that I feel like you guys are harder to game plan because it's like no one week is going to be the guy that kills you like that given week. So it's different.
Like a couple of weeks ago, like people were ready to write off Shanahan as being done in San Francisco, and now look where we're at. What you're saying is 100% true. So you don't know what to expect. And I think you're right, Ashley. The Niners might be the most dangerous team out there right now. Maybe not the best on paper, but the most dangerous for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be like preparing 300 years ago with somebody that's coming up with the very first fireworks. And you're like, hey, yeah, let's get ready to like this son of a bitch. And you don't know what's going to happen. It could explode right in your face.
It's going to be entertaining one way or the
just
other.
Just go for ruin. It could be a dud. I mean, we want to come out the gate strong, obviously, but it is frustrating sometimes as a Niner fan too. I mean, and of course, maybe it's because I grew up in West Virginia. So being a Mountaineer fan, plus being a Niner fan, I see some resemblance sometimes when we play teams that we should just steamroll and we don't show up, and it's just lack of execution. And I think that's the key with the Niners. When they do execute on the game plan, they're lethal. They're very lethal, and they do have a number of players that are superior. Don't get recognition. We've had some fill-ins on the defensive line who've been outstanding, and that's not a unknown entity. If you're facing us and you're another quarterback, you're scared to death. They don't want to have to play that defense and be on the field the whole time. So it does work to our advantage, which our coaches said the past couple of weeks. If we run the ball more than 30 times in a game, we feel we're going to beat any opponent we face.
All right, so let's back up for a second. How long have you actually been a Niners fan?
That would be since 1984. Late 84.
Okay. So you've been there for some Super Bowls, probably wearing the diaper, still has the same footy pajamas. So that's good. The biggest thing is, when you go back to being a Niners fan that long, like I'm sure, the ups and downs, and like, I'm sure you can remember Steve Young blowing Super Bowl passing records in the 90s when they got their victory there. And then the heartbreak of the night the lights went out in the dome and all that stuff. But going all the way up to this year, so the Niners made a move and they drafted a quarterback. They drafted Trey Lance. How in the world did we end up from that place to where we are today?
You're saying to get here from the mindset of drafting Trey Lance. That would be a long-term of sticking to probably the game plan, which they knew they already have so many key elements in place. Anybody also knows primarily too, unless you know with certainty that a quarterback would be ready to go when they already have one that's been a good starter, he fits. And when he's ready to play, he's got a good command on the offense. Those are those intangibles that Jimmy G doesn't get any credit for, because obviously he's not outstanding. He's not a Tom Brady. He's not a Russell Wilson. He's not going to be able to be as athletic and get out of the pocket and move. But it's just needing to have that time frame for Trey Lance to develop, which it should scare other teams. I hope it scares other teams in our division to know we've got a cannon of an arm back there that's eventually going to come. But the main thing is just winning ball games. Our culture is to just win ball games. And at the beginning of the season, being 3-5, you start to really worry. Obviously, you feel like any given step in the wrong way and you're done for.
Yeah, you're definitely fortunate the Seahawks took a big step back this year, because that division's no slouch either, man. That division's tough.
Absolutely. And now with who knows what their future is going to hold. They've got way more things in question than we do at the time. But of course, there were so many awesome playoffs games this past weekend. That's got to been the most exciting weekend of playoff football and maybe in our lifetime, because if you technically look at it, 4 games came down to the final drive or play of the game in overtime or regulation. They were all within 3 points. So it was awesome.
So what was more satisfying? Just the fact that, you guys have had the season you've had, you're at the point where you're at now in the playoffs, or just that specific moment going into Lambeau and beating Aaron Rodgers, what might be his last chance as a Packer? Is that a more sweet feeling, or just, it didn't really matter?
Oh, it's been, the perfect, I could pretty well retire and be happy with my football fandom if we won the Super Bowl this year. I don't know how it's going to get any greater. I mean, obviously we could take it back a week before the Packers. That was just precious how the Cowboys ended that ball game, which we stumbled. We allowed them to be in a game that they shouldn't have been in. The same as the Bengals about 4 weeks ago too, 4 or 5. But allowing them to hang around. I'm hoping we go for the throat on the Rams. However, we've been the underdog. We play from behind, and it is such a satisfying feeling. But it can almost give you a heart attack. It was very difficult. The Packers game, obviously, our offense looked stagnant. We couldn't do it diddly poo, as Coach Moore would call it. And but somehow, yeah, we squeaked in. We got in the playoffs, and which that was the key, is just getting there somehow. The way we did, though, was against those same very Rams. And now we're going back into their place, obviously, as well. With they're not going to have the fan base that we do.
Yeah, I was going to ask
will
about
have
that.
more fans
How
again.
many Niners fans are going to be rolling into SoFi here? Because I saw where they had to do some issues about selling tickets secondhand and whatnot.
They did. They tried to prevent that for so many days, and then it got opened back up. But that's wild. It just shows how intimidated a team is, because they knew it was serious. We had so many people in there. Stafford couldn't hear what the hell he was doing. I love it. I think it was great. It's like, man, you're a professional. If you all can't communicate, how do you think NASCAR guys communicate when they're in a pit row and it's loud as hell? They just make it happen. And Stafford didn't make it happen. And a lot of people are just toot on his horn all the time. I mean, he hasn't been to the Super Bowl.
Dude, you got to give him some slack here. One time a year he plays in front of fans, and it's on Thanksgiving. So you got to cut him a break here.
He's not used to this.
He's not playing for championships. He's playing for turducken.
Yeah. Well, they're going to lose. We're going to beat them. I watched Cam Akers was dropping the ball like
he's not even going to play probably now.
He looked like Aguilar. He was catching them babies.
All right, let me ask you
Aguilar.
this. Let me ask you this though. If you go look at the Rams, so like what would keep you up at night about them this week? Like, what is the one thing that can't happen for the Niners and for the Rams to end up having a good game and winning? So what's the one thing you're like, nah, I can't see this?
That'd be tough. I mean, I'm not really worried about it. After what we've done, like you mentioned on the last question, the Packers. I didn't really go into that much, but it was just insane that we were in the game.
Now, let's be honest. The MVP of that game was the special teams of the Green Bay Packers.
Well, that's where I was going. Our special teams was outstanding. It is weird. Moments before that, too, I literally sat in my chair and prayed. I was like, man, just let somebody find 1 inch and give it everything they got. Just go for it.
That's what she said.
There it was. We blocked the kick. I went nuts. I did have 2 other Niner fans with me. It's hard in this area to have a collaborated effort of Niner fans, but fortunately I have a couple in my life that have also been lifetimers. We went absolutely crazy. And then, of course, watching as we put the other touchdown in the end zone later on, same thing. Block kick, block the punt. Most of the time, too, we run into the kicker. Kicker's going to get plowed. 9 times out of 10, we're going to knock the hell out of him, and then there you go, another 15 yards. But it didn't work out that way. And I don't think it's going to work out that way for the Rams. It's just when we fully execute on all cylinders, which we haven't done yet, if we come out firing, it's all execution style, we're going to murder a team. And I just don't know if it's going to be this coming week. If it's not, then I would say the plate's set. And it won't matter if it's the Chiefs or Bengals, but they're going to get slaughtered.
Hey, for the record, last week on our Stone Cold Lead Pipe Locks of the Week, I not only picked the Niners to cover, but I picked the Niners to beat the Packers outright on the podcast.
He did. So we all picked the Niners to cover because that's just what the Niners do. And we made him double down because he said, I think the Niners will win. So you're going to go ahead and call it right now that they're going to win outright. And he did. And for those not following along, as you're here on the show every week, he is one of the best odds choice decision guys in the entire country. But that being said, he did. I got to give him his moment in the sun here.
Hey, who did he pick when the Raiders faced the Bengals?
I obviously picked the Raiders because I will not pick Chad's team.
I will also not pick Chad's team. I have not picked the Bengals to cover the last 7 weeks, and that is why, that they're in the situation they're in. But I am hoping for a Niners-Bengals Super Bowl because I feel like that's the only way the Bengals can win a Super Bowl is they got to get the Niners off their back. Since you guys beat us twice, it's the only chance they have. It's a whole season of exercising demons, and it's the only way it can happen.
It's pretty tough for you guys, though. I mean, y'all's relationship, the Bengals to me are like that young child who's been abandoned. Well, not necessarily
it's a dumpster baby
abandoned, but go with me here. They're just like a small baby, and we all know that the Steelers and Ravens are both their daddy. So whether their mom maybe had sex with the Ravens and Steelers at the same day, but they're both your daddy. The problem after that is once she was divorced and away from the daddies, the Niners became your stepdaddy, and they can't beat us. We've whooped your ass twice. We'll whoop them a
Right.
third time.
And you get to talk
Oh,
about that for the time being. I'm hoping that gets to change. But the one thing is about kids, most of them do grow up eventually, and that's when they start whipping the old man. And it's always a sad day when the old man gets a whooping from the youngest one. So I
Well, at
see that
least-
happening soon.
At least y'all got rid of Dalton finally.
Hey man, easy on the red rifle. He had some good years there. I'm not going to hate on him, but let's take it back to the Niners. I do want to ask you now prediction time. So just fill in the blank. The MVP of the NFC Championship game is
George Kittle.
all right. Jimmy Garoppolo will throw for blank yards and blank touchdowns.
That'll be 214 yards and 3 tutties.
Ooh, I like the
Nice.
conservative, but apparently he's targeting Kittle down in the red zone.
that's right.
So I like that. And the final score of the game will be
I will give that San Francisco 33 and the Rams 28.
man. So you're taking the over then.
Oh, yeah.
Hammer the over.
There's no other reason. Both of these teams execute. There's way too many weapons on the offense and defense. I think it's going to be a pretty big game. A lot may be who perseveres and stays healthy too. I'm hopefully. I mean, we're full maximum healthy. Of course, the Rams, they had some injuries early on too, but then they're like, well, we'll go get Von Miller and get Beckham Jr. and throw them to the fold. So that's scraping, doing what they got to do. It's Los Angeles style. That's how it is. The Lakers, the Dodgers, not hating on them. I mean, they just got that big money and they'll just go get whatever they want. The only problem is the Rams don't have fan base. They don't have people like me out here raising it.
Well, nobody has proven that you've been able to just put together an NFL team full of free agents and make them a winner yet. That's not happened. Everybody that wins, they do it through the process and they grow it organically.
Draft well.
And they draft well and typically don't overpay for a quarterback. That's usually the teams that win. So the Rams aren't any of those things and the Niners are. So history is kind of on San Francisco's side, and we're not going to reveal our picks yet. That's in the next segment of the show. But there's no way this weekend can be as good as last weekend as far as quality of games, though. Something's got to give.
You never can tell. We had some outstanding games in 2013 to get to the Super Bowl as well. Some folks do forget, but the game against New Orleans was one of the most spectacular. What's that?
Nolans.
Yeah, Nolans. The game with them was one of the best games I ever saw. I mean, I believe there were 4 or 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter, back and forth totally. Of course, they had Jimmy Graham going nuts. But so you truly just can't tell. But with both of these teams and the rivalry they have, it will be heated. I could see some fisticuffs going down at some point.
Hey, I always see these clips of Rams games and these idiots. It's just like the Dodgers, man. There's always fights in the stands out there. And, man, there's some good ones. I'm telling you, some of these guys can take some punches. But all that being said, we'll watch that on World Star, I guess. But the question I have for you, just to wrap up, win, lose, or draw, is Jimmy Garoppolo wearing a Niners jersey next year?
No.
It's done, right? It's going to be the Trey Lance show no matter what next year, just because of price and they've already committed.
I would say so. I mean, there's the small chance, if there is a small window, it would probably to bring him in just to keep from an injury taking place, because obviously Jimmy has had injuries before. And the more you play along, it'll boil down to money and cents.
All right. So I think you said 33-23. Is that what you said?
No, 33-28.
All right. So is it going to be a play at the end of the game that's going to decide it, or is it going to be a comfortable kneel down? Is it victory formation?
I figure it'll just be our defense coming through, holding things off. They'll need to make a drive. We'll probably control the clock right up for the last score and then put it on the defense's heels and lay them down.
All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ashley Harper joined us fighting through COVID, repping his Niners, giving us some Ric Flair woos here at the end. And
Flair's a Niner fan.
You know what? He's right. You can Google that, YouTube it. You'll see Niners pregame talk with Flair. I've seen that before. So, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, the Rams, they look like the man too. So maybe you guys can hold up here, and we'll see the Niners in the Super Bowl. But Ashley, thanks for coming on, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, brother. Be good, man. Hope you get better.
You too, guys.
All right, brother. Man, that was good. I'm gonna hit stop recording here, but
Wait.